The sun went down behind the tall mountains, and the village of Blackwood became very dark and silent. John was a young man, and he was looking for his brother who disappeared 2 weeks ago near the old forest. John had only a small flashlight and an old paper map in his hand, but the air was getting very cold, and he smelled something very strange like old meat rotting in the sun. He walked to the end of the road, and saw a very large old house with broken windows, and the front door was wide open. He heard a very soft whisper coming from inside the dark house saying, "Help me, please help me," and John thought it was his brother's voice, so he stepped inside the house quickly. Suddenly the heavy wooden door slammed shut behind him, and he was trapped in the darkness. John walked into the living room, and it was full of thick dust and old spider webs. He saw a very large mirror on the wall, and he looked into it, but he did not see his own face. He saw a tall, thin man with no face standing right behind him with long white fingers. John turned around very fast, but there was nobody there in the room. He looked at the mirror again, and the faceless man was much closer now, holding a long rusty knife. John felt a sharp pain in his shoulder and saw blood on his shirt, but no one was touching him. He realized the house was alive, and it wanted his blood, so he ran up the stairs as fast as he could while hearing loud heavy footsteps following him, thud, thud, thud. John found a small room on the second floor, and the floor was covered with hundreds of old dolls that had real human hair. The eyes of the dolls moved and followed John as he walked across the room. He found his brother's gold watch on a table, and it was covered in fresh blood. Suddenly all the dolls began to laugh at the same time with a very high and scary sound. One doll stood up by itself and pointed to a small secret door in the dusty wall. John opened the door and saw a long dark tunnel that was wet and slimy. He crawled inside the tunnel, and heard a loud heartbeat coming from the walls, boom, boom, boom. He reached the end of the tunnel and found a very large basement under the house. In the basement he saw his brother tied to a large wooden cross, and there were many people in black robes standing around him. They were chanting a very dark prayer, and their eyes were glowing with a red light. In the middle of the floor there was a large black hole, and a monster made of dark shadows was coming out of it. This was the demon of Blackwood. The head priest looked at John and smiled, showing sharp teeth, and said, "We needed 2 brothers today, one for the heart and one for the soul." The shadow monster grabbed John's legs with cold hands, but John found an old silver cross on the dusty floor. He held it up high, and the monster screamed in pain, while the whole house began to shake and fall apart. The walls began to break, and the people in black robes turned into black smoke. John cut the ropes and freed his brother, and they ran back through the tunnel as the house started to burn with a strange blue fire. They jumped out of the front window and ran into the deep forest without looking back once. Behind them, the big house exploded into 1,000 pieces, and the sun began to rise over the trees. They thought they were safe, but when John looked at his right hand, he saw a black mark of the demon. The curse was not over yet, because the demon was now living inside him. He looked at his brother and saw that his brother's eyes were also glowing with a bright red light. The nightmare was not ending, it was only just beginning for both of them in the village of Blackwood.
Thank you.